Hello Reborners, my name is Karen and this is Making Dolls with Karen. We're back with Priscilla and she had her bake and she's looking pretty good. Her face is blushed plenty good, but her feet and hands just not blushed that well. But we're going to press on. I'm going to start putting layers on her because, well, you can just spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get their nails right, and then you just end up, their hands and feet color blushed right, and you end up still not having that much on them. I'm going to get a brush from back here, and we're going to start with some 05 on her right now. We're going to get her painted, a couple of layers maybe, and get her back in the oven. I'm just not being able to get as much done that I used to do on my dolls in a day. Sometimes I'm just taking too long because I don't know, I feel tired. My medicine's making me very tired, and it makes me feel like I can't finish. I don't know. I just feel like I need to rest or something. It's just a side effect of the medicine. Anyway, we're gonna get some layers on her. And we may go ahead and blush her a little more in another step. I don't know. I'm gonna just see how she plays out closer to the end. But in this step, we're gonna try to get some layers on her. We're gonna, oops, one of those lumpy things. We're gonna try to just get her, kind of painted up a little bit. She's a very cute little baby, but she just needs some color. She's just kind of pale, which is natural because what you're seeing is just blank vinyl, most of it, other than the blush itself. She's just almost blank vinyl. And we're going to get some color on her now. We're starting with this layer, and then we're going to dry her out a little bit and put another layer. And then we'll bake her, and then we'll go to the next color, and, on down. I like my dolls to be a little bit darker than some people make their dolls. I've seen some dolls that just looked so creamy white even after they were just baked. Just finished. They had all their colors put on them, but they still just looked so creamy white that they were just pale. And I don't like my dolls to be that pale. That one's a little bit, this one's a little bit dirtier. I always start pouncing them with a sponge that's kind of been used a few times, because you're just taking off the most wetness that you can at the first, and then with the second sponge you're trying to just dry them out a little bit, just repouncing them to get any more excess that this other one didn't get off, and that will dry them out a lot quicker. And then you hit them with the heat gun and they just dry on out. So it's really good to pounce a lot of it off. It just soaks right into the sponge. She's got a little hair on her head, but it won't hurt a thing. It'll just fall off probably. Usually when they're baked, the hair gets very brittle and it'll either break up or just fall right off. I can still see her veins really well, so she was veined good. Okay, now I'll just take this cleaner one and pounce her a little bit more, just to make sure that she doesn't have any little spots on her that are going to look rusty or dirty or something later on. They start to look rashy or something. I don't know how to put it. When I was doing Ashley, she just got so rashy looking. I just stopped. I just decided I'm just making her worse. Each step is making her worse and worse. And she's not looking any more ethnic than she did when I started. So I just decided to call it quits and just cut my losses right where I was at. I'm not going to be trying to sell her anyway. She's going to a little child for their birthday. So, children aren't as picky as we are about things like color schemes and stuff. They're not going to go, oh, it doesn't look authentic, They're not going to do that. Not that you want to give kids all your boo-boos, but, the thing is they're not looking at that doll as a boo-boo. They're looking at it, it's just a doll, And I remember back when I was a child, dolls really looked like dolls. They did not look anything like a real baby at all. And everybody was okay with that. It was like Thumbelina was my favorite, and she just looked like just a plain old doll to me. And I knew she was a doll, and I never tried to pretend. Well, I did pretend she was a baby quite often because I was a little girl, and little girls play with their dolls like that. They wrap them up in blankets, they put them in little strollers, they do all that stuff with their dolls, but still they know it's just a doll. And that's the way children look at dolls. It's just a doll, It's not supposed to look any different than it does. But when you're making reborns and older children or adults are getting them, they're going, oh, it's like a baby and it's supposed to look like a baby, so they're going to scrutinize it a whole lot more than a little child will. And it's just that's what I'm thinking anyway. Not that it's not important to do a good job when you're giving it to a child. It really is important to always do a good job. But I'm saying if you have a few flaws or something, they're not going to fuss about it. They're not going to. And this lady that's this child's mother, she's very, very gracious and happy that you did something for her child, and she's thankful, and she's all those things that people should be like. She's a very sweet woman, and she's got 2 little kids, and she's raising them on her own. Their dad does come to see them, but I don't think they're married. I don't really know, but he does not live over there. I know that. He comes to see the kids regularly, so he's in their life, not full time, but very regular. And the children are just sweet as they can be, and I just wanted to do something nice for them. And that's why I'm making a doll. Anyway, that's why I made a doll. I made Ashley. If you watch that video, I had decided that I was going to try to do the modeling with Ashley, not because I was giving it to the kid, but because I just decided, why not just do some modeling on Ashley. I'm not a fan of modeling, and I think I'm going to abandon it for good. I just don't like modeling. It's ugly. It doesn't make the doll look any more real. In fact, they look less real to me. They just look overdone to me. And I know babies have times when they're very modeled, when they're cold and stuff, or their circulation's not good. They do get modeled, but they're not always modeled. I learned that just recently from my granddaughter. She's just a sweet, sweet little baby my son and daughter-in-law adopted. And she was modeled sometimes, and sometimes she wasn't. Very fair-skinned, blonde little baby. Beautiful, beautiful child. And I try to capture a prettier moment on the doll than them being super modeled up. I just don't like that look. And most of the people who buy my dolls are surprised when they get them that they're as beautiful as they are, and they say, oh man, way more beautiful than the picture. A lot of people put that down in the feedback. Way more beautiful than the picture could ever depict, and I just marvel that people think my dolls are that good, and I just think they're sort of mediocre myself, but maybe I'm selling myself short. And they always say you're your own worst critic, and so I'm just hard on myself because I don't think I did a good enough job. I always think I could have done better. I should have done this, or I should have done that, or maybe I shouldn't have done that step, or something. I'm always second guessing what I'm doing. And some people do it so much that they end up stripping their dolls over and over again because they just don't think they did good enough. And we should accept our work as good enough, because it is. Really and truly, we're doing a great job. If it looks like a baby, then you did a great job. It doesn't matter if it has every detail that a real baby has or not. That doesn't matter. All it matters is, how does it look? How do you like it? Do you think it's pretty? Do you think it looks good? If you were buying that doll, would you be satisfied with it? Those kinds of things. Ask yourself those kinds of questions. Instead of going, well, her lips don't look perfect, I'm going to strip them. Don't think like that. Our work is never perfect because we're not perfect beings. We're going to make mistakes. We're human. And so therefore, we should accept our work as good enough. I don't know. It's just my opinion. Maybe it doesn't count for anything, but, you know, I think it does. Everybody has different opinions, though. Some people think I must be perfect in my work, and they really feel that they must. And if they're not, I didn't ever meet this lady, but when I say meet, I mean I came into contact with this person through selling dolls. And she told me that she just couldn't hardly paint regular dolls. She only did alternative dolls because they could just be anything and they weren't expected to be perfect or anything. And every time she tried to paint a regular doll, she would think, oh, it doesn't look perfect, and she would end up stripping it too many times because she thought one or the other thing she did to it didn't look right. And I told her, I said, you're being too hard on yourself. I bet your dolls are beautiful. And but she didn't have any to show me because she only made alternative dolls. And she said, alternative dolls, if you get something a little bit different, then nobody knows what it was really supposed to look like because it's an alternative doll. It can look like anything. And it's okay. And I said, it's really okay for your doll to do that too. It really is. It's okay. And, you know, a lot of people, they just don't agree. But that's everybody's choice to do that, you know. Everybody has their own ideas about what makes a beautiful doll. And I just think if they look good, they're good enough, you know. I don't try to make it have every single little attribute that a real baby might have. I just don't do that. It's just too much. It's overdoing them, I think. And then they just look wrong because you try to, you know, you can't give every doll milk spots and baby acne and baby scratches and birthmarks. They're just overdone with all that stuff. But some people try to do every bit of that. They try to go, well, you know, I got the birthmark pretty good, but I couldn't get the Mila or something like that. And I'm going, why do you have to do all that? Every baby doesn't have baby acne. You know, if you're putting all that on every single doll you have, all your dolls are like clones of each other. Every doll should be unique and different. They're a different work of art. And when you do one doll, you might go, I want this baby to have a baby scratch. And I put baby scratches on several of my dolls, but I do not put them on every single doll, even though I would like to. It would make them all too much the same because you buy a doll because it's unique and different, mostly. Not because it looks the same as the other doll. You're going, well, that doll looks almost like a carbon copy of that other one. And you don't really want that. That's why if I make one Priscilla and give it brown hair, then I'm going to make the other one and give it blonde hair. I'm just not going to do them the same because then they just look like clones of each other. And people look at your dolls and they go, they all look almost exactly the same. They're different sculpts, but they have the same exact features, every one of them. And, you know, the last doll I bought from her had this particular feature, and this one has it too. That makes them too much alike. You know, I don't know. Some people might think that. I don't know that everybody does, but it is something that you have to be aware of. If you're making all your dolls too much alike, then people don't see any reason to get another doll from you. They'll go to some other artist and get a doll from them because the doll looks different. This doll looks the same, you know. You know, it makes sense if you think about it. But if there's a particular thing you're really good at doing, like hair or something, you're going to want to do it in all your dolls. I get that because it's just a normal thing. Hair's kind of normal, but baby scratches, not every baby's going to scratch themselves. Not every baby's going to have acne. Not every baby's going to have modeling. They're just different because they represent a different baby, actually, you know. Maybe it makes sense to some of y'all, I don't know. Okay, that's her first coat. Now I'm going to heat her up a little because that's the only way you can make sure that she's really dry. Because I want to put another coat on her before I bake her. So here we go. If you see a spot when you're heating the doll up that looks a little too dark, just stop and pounce it. That's what I was doing. It's not going to take a long time for her to dry because, well, I pounced her real good and she sat there a few minutes, so. As soon as she's not shiny looking anymore, I'm going to stop. She's losing her shininess, so it's just about dry. Yep, it's going pretty fast. And her legs look dry already. But I'm still going to heat them a little bit. Arms and legs are virtually dry already. I must have pounced them real good. They have virtually no wet on them at all. So it makes it go a lot faster. The longer they sit there, the longer they have to kind of dry before you even hit it with the air gun, the heat gun. So we're going to quickly put another coat on her, because I like 2 coats of this color on her, and then we're going to get her a bake, and probably she won't need another coat. Probably, it's a possibility she might, but it's not good to put too many coats of this one color. I would say 3 coats would be my limit. I mean, extremely outside limit. 2 coats seems about right most of the time, so most of the time that's what I do. And even if it doesn't look like they're finished enough, they really, really are with this color. I mean, they're finished with this color. Because all you're doing is just, after a certain amount of darkness from that color, you're not really going to get any more darkness from that color. You're just going to get more and more paint piled on top of each other, which gives more and more of the chance of them looking wrong when they come out. Don't forget to get all the crevices, because if you don't, it's going to be very, very funny looking. All the spots. She is very covered with very splotchy looking paint. And so that's when we have to dab them, because even if you can't see the splotchiness, it's there. Even if the paint's really light and you can't see the splotchy is still there, and it will show up later on when you're putting darker colors on top of it. The darker spots will turn out to be even darker. So you have to even out your paint every time you put paint on the doll. You need to even it out with your sponge. It is the very best way to paint. I've tried every type of painting I've ever seen anybody do, other than holding her over a big bin of color and just swiping her up and down with a brush that looks like you paint your house with it. I saw a lady do that one time. She had her flesh color just in a big old, looked like an ice cream bucket or something. That ice cream comes in a gallon, you know, and she had it full of her flesh color of paint. She goes, we're just going to do this really, really, really fast. And she just held the head upside down like this. And she took a big old paintbrush that looks like you're going to paint your walls with it or something. And she was just going up and down on the doll like that. And it was just running off and dripping. And it was just a messy, messy thing she was doing. And she said, yes, very, very fast. We're going to go very, very fast. And she really did go very, very fast. And after the doll was thoroughly covered like that, she just kind of took a sponge and started sponging around on it. It was very bizarre looking to me. But I didn't stay with her video to see how it, you know, if she was going to show any more. I didn't even stay with it after I saw her doing that. I thought that's ridiculous. Nobody's going to paint that way. And I just went off of it. I didn't even stay to see how the doll was going to turn out after its very first bake. If she even showed that, I don't even know. A lot of people don't show that much of their video, so you don't really know if what they're doing is a good idea or not, because you don't see the results, or they don't tell you how it came out. They just go, this is how you paint a doll. You know, one lady made a video on just how she painted her, just how she mixed up her flesh color, and that's all it was. This is how I mix my flesh color. And I thought she might actually try it on a doll or something, but she didn't. She just showed you how to mix it, and that was it. And I thought, well, that's bizarre. She was using air dry too, and she made this color that was almost caramel colored, and that was her flesh color. And I think that's the wrong color for flesh. They're not that caramely looking. And she said, this is how I do it. I put this much paint and this much water and this much of this thing and this much of that thing, and I mix it all up and it looks like this. And that's just about, and that's the end of the video. Okay, whatever. I watched a lot of videos when I was first getting started, and I quickly learned that everybody has a different way of doing it, and you just have to figure out what way you want to do it. And so I just took what seemed to me to be the most sound advice, and I sort of just said, I'm going to start painting, because I just don't know who to follow. Everybody just has such weird ideas, but they're their ideas, and if that's how they want to paint, they're certainly entitled to do it. But I decided that following other people was not for me. My mother taught me to go my own way. And I'm just using this brush to get the paint out of the crevices. Wet paint gets in the crevices real bad, and it'll cause you to have muddy looking feet on your doll if you don't clean it out. They'll look like they've been crawling around outside and got very muddy and dirty, and you took them in and just let the mud dry on their feet. That's how they kind of look if you don't get it out. Not that newborns can crawl, but you know what I mean. They've just been outside and got their feet really dirty. But you got to kind of stay on top of that, because if you don't, every step, it'll just get darker and darker and darker. Because paint sticks to paint, and wherever it's the darkest, that's going to get the most color from the next layer too. That's why we try to make it absolutely uniform and even, because you want the same color all over your doll. You don't want half of the leg to be really dark and the other half to be really light, because I'll let part of that foot touch that jar. I have to pounce it again. Yeah, you don't want part of the leg to look really dark because you didn't even out your paint, and the other part to look light. It would just look bizarre at the end. You want a uniform color all over your doll. Unless it's blush or something, and you're trying to, or it's a baby scratch or something, which is going to look different then. I wait till almost the very end to do my baby scratch if I'm doing one, because you don't want it to be messed up by other layers of paint. It's a 2 or 3 step process to make a baby scratch, and that's another good reason to have a heat gun. You can dry that paint in between each step and go on to the next step before you bake, and have a completed baby scratch when you put them in the oven. Before that, I had to work on it every layer of paint I did, because I was doing it as I went along, building on it every time. But now I just do it all in one step because it just, I don't know, it turns out better. But Priscilla's a very cute little doll, I think. A lot of the Bountiful Baby kits, I think, are very, very cute. I've seen kits from other companies, and some of them are very pretty, like Laura, she's very pretty. And there's several dolls, Quinby, she's pretty, that are very, very pretty. And when you make them, they turn out to be a nice doll. But they're highly, highly expensive usually, over $100 for one kit. And here I am trying to buy the $19.99 kits from Bountiful Baby. And paying $100 for one kit is just, I don't know. I'm not saying I'll never do it, or I have never done it, because I have, but I'm just not satisfied with it. It doesn't seem that good that you'd pay that much money for one kit to me. In Bountiful Baby's kits, the hands and feet look, on almost every single kit, look absolutely real. Whereas a lot of the kits I've seen for sale on other sites have looked very fake on the limbs. And I'm not saying all of them are that way, because some of them are very beautiful. Laura's a beautiful kit, I think, and I'd like to do a Laura one day, but you know, I don't know what she costs or if she's even available anymore. I don't keep up with that, so I don't know. And I just don't know if she's price prohibited, in my opinion, or not, because I don't really know what she sells for. But I'm sure it's a lot, because almost all of the dolls that you get from other companies are expensive, very expensive. On those sites, a sale would be like $70 to $80, and you know, Bountiful Babies are only around $70 regular price, but they're almost always on sale. There's hardly ever a time when they ever post their dolls ever for regular price. I mean, you practically never see it. And other sites just they don't care if you get a discount or not ever, so they're just regular price. Now, I have seen people selling doll kits before, and sometimes they're very expensive for sale by individuals, because they'll say, yeah, I bought this kit 2 years ago and now it's a sold out limited edition, and I want like $400 for it, and it's outrageously ridiculous. And of course, I don't buy them, but not that I've never bought a sold out limited edition, because I have, but I think $99 was the most I ever paid for one, and I'm just not willing to pay those prices to get those kits, that when you can get plenty good kits that are not that expensive. I mean, everybody has their own preferences. A lot of people won't even do Bountiful Babies, and some people won't even entertain the idea of buying a Bountiful Baby. They'll say, I want a doll kit, but I don't want it to be any sort of a Bountiful Baby kit. And I don't know, maybe they're just tired of the Bountiful Babies that they've seen. I don't know, but there's plenty of people who will buy your Bountiful Baby kits, and they've never even had a doll before, so they don't even know anything about them. They just buy it because it's pretty, and that's the people I like to sell to. They're buying a doll probably for the first time, and they're not super overly picky if they're super hyper realistic. I make realistic looking dolls, but not hyper realistic. I think those hyper realistic dolls just are overdone. That's just only what I can come up with. They just have too much detail, and not every doll, every baby's going to have that much stuff in them. You know, it's one thing if you put one special feature in a doll, but if you try to put all of them, they become weird looking. And I think overly done dolls are just ugly. That's my opinion. Not that it counts for anything, but it does to me. And it may not to y'all, which it's not supposed to really, but everybody has their own opinion, and they're entitled to it. And if people want to buy those kits for those prices, they're certainly entitled to do that too, but I have to get a lot of stuff with the little bit of money I get a month. So if I'm not selling dolls really, really fast, which you won't sell that many that fast unless it's Christmas time. at Christmas time, a lot of people want a doll, and they're looking for a bargain. Most everybody's looking for a bargain. So all during the year, I try to let my dolls be on some sort of a sale, like 20% off or 30% off, depending on just how much of a cash flow I feel like I need at the time. And if I'm needing a big cash flow, sometimes I put them 50% off. But now and again, you're going to sell a doll, maybe one every month or something. And then it'll pick up later on to where you're selling 2 or 3 at a time in a month. And then all of a sudden you're in the middle of the Christmas crunch and everybody is buying a doll. You might sell 5 in one day. I don't know, it's just that way. Okay, she's painted with that. I'm probably not going to put any more of this color on her. So I'm going to put this up. And what I'm going to do next is paint her lips and nails. I haven't done that with this other paint in the little jar yet. And so I'm going to just divvy it around a little because I never mix it up. I just never do. And sometimes you just feel like you ought to. So I've divvied it around so it's mixed up enough now. At least that's what I'm going with. Okay. She's not dry, but I'm just going to be very, very careful. She looks a little splotchy too. I need to pounce her a little bit more maybe. Is there any more sponges up here that are out of the package? I don't think so. I hate it when I have to open up a new package. Just because I'm lazy, I guess. You know, get a couple sponges out. Use one. I need to splotch around on her a little bit more. She's a little splotchy looking. Not much will come off, see, just tiny bits. You'll just even her out a little bit. She looks a little uneven. Well, her head does anyway. I don't know about her arms and legs. I'm going to look at them too because I just don't want her to be splotchy. You work hard on a doll and then they come out splotchy and you get upset. You're going, I should have pounced her a little more. Why didn't I do that? And it's a little too late after you bake them to pounce them around because they're splotchy looking. Anything that looks a little bit still overly wet, you just need to pounce it a little. After this point, they should be pretty much dry. Her arms look fantastic, actually. That one does anyway. This one does too. Sometimes it's like that. Their arms will look real good, but their legs will look splotchy, or the other way around. Or you'll get something, you don't see it right away, and you didn't take care of it, and it's on the hands or something, and suddenly the hand, see, just that much came off all the pieces. Very, very little. Or it'll be something like this on her face. She's got a little bit of something under her eye, and a little bit something on her eyes themselves that looks a little bit rough. And sometimes you can take a toothpick and you can run it in that little eye crevice there that's for the eyelash and take some of that out. Not that it's really going to show, because it's not, because the eyelashes go right there, but it just looks gunky and icky. That's better. It just kind of rolls right out on the toothpick. And also, if you have something like what's on the side of her nose right now, you want to really look them over and make sure that you're not leaving something real scratchy looking that's going to turn out different when they come out of the oven. Okay, that looks good. We're really, really examining her because she had a few little flaws like that. I want to make sure that no more form. Paint her beautiful lips. She's got such nice looking lips. Sometimes it's helpful if you lay them down to paint their lips. She's got a little bit of just almost a rashy look to her. Just need to wipe her a little bit, I think. She doesn't look quite right. Her skin doesn't have that flawless, beautiful finish that you usually get on a doll. Just a hair stuck to her nose. I'm hoping it's not permanent. And I'm not liking that under her eye right there. It's a little scratchy looking. There we go. That's better. Sometimes you just have to go over them a little bit and take care of these little spots that you see so they won't look funny when they come out, because you don't want to have to try to cover something like that up. Okay, now we're going on to the lips. her lips are very, very smooth looking. She's got beautiful lips, actually. If I can paint them good, then she'll have pretty lips. It's a process, painting lips. I take my time because they're important to look good, I think. It's important that they look good. It's more than just put some color on their lips and let it be done. You have to make it smooth. You have to get it out of those little crevices. You have to make it actually smooth. Otherwise, they just don't look good. And I want her to look good. She's got nice lips, and they can color really good, or they can color really ugly. It just depends on how you do them. And I take my time because I want them to look really good. She's got pouty lips, kind of. And they're very cute. Get some paint all over her, like that. This paint should be very, very translucent, but sometimes it's not. I just shook it up before I used it this time, so it is looking kind of translucent. It's shimmery, kind of, because it's got thinning medium. I used to use something called glazing gel, and it really made them shimmery looking. They looked almost sparkly when you got done painting them, but after you baked them, they didn't look sparkly anymore. But it was very, very translucent and a beautiful, beautiful finish. But then they didn't have any glazing gel anymore, and I asked them about it, and they said, you can just use thinning medium. It almost works exactly the same way. So I made this jar with thinning medium, and they have glazing gel again, but I already have this jar, so I'm not mixing any new until it's gone, because I don't want to waste it. And when you're finished and you want to smooth it out, you got to take the paint off your brush. Wherever it's a little puddly looking, you want to suck some of that back out, and it won't suck it out if there's a lot of paint on your brush. It'll only do it if your paintbrush is wiped off, because it can only hold so much paint. And that's beautiful lips to me. I'm going to show them to you here in just a minute. Just smoothing out a little bit of the crevices. I don't like darker paint down in those little lip lines because it makes them look like they have chapped lips. I like pretty lips on my babies. And I like their toenails and fingernails to be pretty too. Sometimes that's a little harder because, well, toenails are very, very hard, I think. Sometimes you can't even tell where they start and end. They're just so superficial on their little tiny toes that you just can't even see them hardly. And you end up painting them, but then the paint doesn't stay where you put it. A lot of times they'll run down to the nail bed, and it'll make just a dark line there, and the rest of the nail will look unpainted. It's because I guess the paint is heavier because it has thinning. It's in thinning medium instead of in regular paint thinner. But you can make kind of nice nails too. And hopefully they'll bake that nice, I hope. Be very mindful of how you lay your doll down after you paint their nails. If any part of their nails is touching your table, it'll just suck the paint right off of them. Because you don't dab this paint, because if you do, there won't be anything left on the nails. You just smooth it out the best you can, and it usually comes out real good. And her toes are looking a little gunky as well. We need to take care of these things as soon as we see them, or we'll end up with a baby with dirty feet, like I said before. We don't want them to look like they crawled around in the mud for 2 hours. But if you see some stains on their feet that looks like the paint didn't do well or something, just brush it off with a paintbrush or something. Because you want every piece of them to look good. You don't want some dirty looking thing on just, that toe looks muddy, the rest of them look good. You don't want that. Yep. I usually test out how the limb's gonna lay down before I start painting the nail. Because if it's not gonna lay good, you're gonna have to put it on your drying rack for at least about 10 minutes before you put them in the oven. Let it sort of air dry a little bit, so because if it touches any part of your oven too, that also will rub the paint right off the nails. because this paint takes way longer to dry than what you pounce around with the paintbrush, with a sponge, because it's just like I said, you don't pounce this. You just paint it on and hope for the best. There's too much on that nail. If you have too much on your nail, you can do one of two things. What I'm doing right now, or you can take a swab and just rub it off and redo that nail, because you'll never get it rubbed off to the right amount of paint. You'll just rub all the paint off pretty much, and then you just repaint it, because you don't want it to be super dark when the other ones are super light. There we go. Now let's see, did I do this one yet? Nope. Okay, this is the last one, and then we'll get her for a bake. Gotta clean up her hands a little bit first. This hand looks muddy. Usually if it's not just baked on, you can get all this muddy look off, usually. Sometimes it's a little harder than other times, but if you work on it, you can actually get most of it off. And then you don't have that muddy look that looks like they've been crawling around outside. I hate that look. I hate it when I don't see something. Sometimes it's very light and you don't see it readily, and you'll go on to the next step, and then it'll be darker and you'll have to try to take care of it on that step. But it's always best to take care of it when it's first done, because you're actually removing the problem instead of just minimizing it. Some of our efforts only minimize the problem. But if you have to minimize it, by all means minimize it, because you don't want your dolls to look ashy or dirty. That's not a good look, actually. A little something on her finger right there. Okay, now we're going to paint the nails. She looks a little better now. And then I didn't even paint Ashley's nails, I don't think. And I didn't tip them for sure. But I'm going to tip her nails. I haven't been tipping the last couple of dolls I did. I don't know why, I just forgot, I think. But I'm going to tip this doll's nails. Oh my goodness. Can I even get under there? I hate it when they do the nails like this. They're so far underneath that you can't paint them without getting paint on some other part of the doll, which is going to look totally wrong, because the nail color shouldn't be on the fingers at all. And if it does, then you have this problem with it looking so unnatural. It's got a little muddy look on this part of her too. That's not doing it. I think my brush is too stained with brown now. When I try to rub the creases to get the brown out of it, it just turns all of her skin around the crease brown too. I've overextended that brush. I need to clean it. Now that's a brush I clean. I don't clean the rest of my brushes ever, because I use, except these two, I clean them. You'll see me swishing this little skinny brush every time I use it, just about it, because I have used it on different colors. I mostly use it on red though. But all my other brushes, they're exclusively for that color, and I don't ever clean them, because cleaning them is actually bad for your brushes. It's the paint thinner that actually makes them go bad. So the more you put on it, the quicker it's going to go bad. So they get dipped enough in paint that I don't want to put any more paint thinner on them, so I don't dip them. I don't clean them. Anyway, I'm going to swish this right away, because I don't want any color. This is a brush I don't want any color to stay in. So immediately when I get finished with it, I swish it in the paint thinner. Now this one is usually clogged up with some red color. So if you're brushing your creases or something, a little bit of red gets on them. But I've used it so much on that brown. See, lots of brown is coming out of it now. It's really staining the water. And then I just wipe it real good on a paper towel, and it's pretty much clean for the next time. The only thing it has to do is dry real good before you use it. You wouldn't want to use a brush that was really, really wet with paint thinner to try to suck out some paint from your creases, because you're just going to mess them up worse with that paint thinner. But anyway, that's clean now. And she needs to have a bake right away, so we're gonna do that. And when we come back, we'll see what she needs next. I'm pretty sure we're going on to the next color. That's usually what we do. 2 coats of one color is usually plenty. Sometimes I do 2 coats of the next color too, and sometimes just 1. It just depends on how she looks. You can actually get used to looking at how dark they are and telling just by looking at them, yeah, that's good enough, or no, I need another coat, you know. But not always. Sometimes you can't tell. You just have to bake them and then see how they look after the bake. But anyway, I'm going to remind everybody to please like, subscribe, and share, and happy reborning.